are excited to have such a lovely woman like you, and you have this amazing book, and I just wanted to talk about this amazing book. It's called The Confidence Continuum by Jovan Goodman, if you haven't got it. How would you define confidence?
And my personal definition of confidence is that it means that you're believing that you are who God says you are. And so what does God say about you? So God says that you're fearfully and wonderfully made, that you can do all things through Christ. And so let's just say, and that's just not some of us, that's all of us that have that capability. And so let's just say you're not a religious or a spiritual person. What do those scriptures translate to? When I say I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, is that you are not here by accident. It's a very intentional act that you are here and that you're existing, and that there's some level of purpose in your life, and it can be attained by digging deeper inside internally than reaching from the external. What you have on the inside is more powerful than what you may present externally, and you can use that for your highest good. You have the capability of using that for your highest good to achieve. And so to achieve your purpose, and whatever that is. And for some of us, that's this really grand thing. And for some of us, my purpose is to be something that might not be, is important. Some of our purposes are to just work at a grocery store and serve people in excellence. I think we have to be realistic about that as well. Or maybe I drive a school bus, or I deliver a product. Whatever that purpose is to be excellent and operate in our highest good, and I have the capability to do that if I really dig deep from internally.
Absolutely. While Googling you, I was like, let me Google this baby. Google me, baby. I was like, that's my favorite. So I had to Google you. I like to Google my guests. I found a statement on your website that stated that your vision is for every young girl to have access to a class dedicated to building confidence, right?
Yeah.
Why do you believe this is so important?
Yes, because I think environmentally, the cues and the messages that I get around confidence sometimes can be very superficial, and they can be very very, in a way it presents confidence as a very black and white subject. Either you have it or you don't. Either this is the most confident person in the world, or you feel like crap every day, right? And that's just not realistic. It's really more of a journey than a destination. And so not only those environmental messages that girls understand about confidence, is that some girls are just really in some places physically unsafe compared to boys and men. Some women and girls are physically unsafe in some communities versus men and boys. And so because of the lack of safety or the level of oppression that they might be experiencing, that certainly impacts them internally. And so they need an opportunity to still have that, to tap into who they are internally, to navigate what they might be experiencing externally. And then there's so much in our environments, in our homes, that we pick up on, explicit and inexplicit, about what confidence is and what it means to be confident. And so I think for those reasons, I think every girl in the world should have access to some level of confidence programming.
Absolutely. And so for someone like me, when I think back to somewhere like my childhood, because I did attend the Confidence Continuum classes, and I would just think back to my childhood, and I remember, being bullied and everything, and that used to really, really affect my confidence. And when I think about who I am today, I still have a hard time processing it, knowing like how much I struggled as a child, where I would focus more on my weaknesses than my strengths, and I had no one to tell me, Adiola, you're enough, you're good, your weaknesses does not define who you are. Those words that you said, you are, there's a purpose for your life, there's more to you than, I wish there was someone to just instill those powerful words in me. I started to know that at an older age. I probably didn't, I can be honest and honestly say my confidence journey probably didn't start until about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm now in my 30s, but I didn't grow up with that, or, and even still, it's still a journey. It's still a journey. There are days that are bad,
Absolutely.
I think I was telling you earlier about some issues that I faced sometime last year, and I had to go to my journal to remind myself that I'm enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not what the world says. I just love how you base confidence not just on the external but the internal, right? There's something I wanted to tell you. I'll tell you later. I think there's something I wanted to tell you about how people perceive when we talk about the there's a question that I have for you, and I pray to God that I remember to bring it up. So I'm not gonna bring it up right now. But there's the next thing I wanted to say is they say the best lessons start from home, right? Yeah. And even after most of our kids will spend time. I don't have kids, but I'm like most of the kids they spend time in school and then they go home, right? And I just wanted to ask you, what are things that you believe that parents can do to help build confidence in their children? And does this differ from a male child to a female child?
Yeah, and so I would say get to know who your children are from from a real internal place, right? I'm not talking about, hey, they like to eat cookies on Fridays or something like that. I'm saying internally, who are they? What is their essence? How do they really feel about confidence? You can ask them a simple question on a scale from 1 to 10. You might be suffering or struggling in a certain subject. Where are you in terms of your confidence in that? Let's have real conversations with our children, and let's listen to hear and understand instead of listening to respond. And let's try to listen non-defensively, because they might say some things about the way you are, or the way they might experience home life that might impact their confidence. And I think we have to really be able to hear that. So being able to have those conversations with our kids, I think that's where it starts. So one of the goals is to build that awareness. The awareness starts from just having conversations. Now, if we're talking about actually enhancing confidence, I would say you should purchase my book.
Word.
And there are things like power poses we can do with kids, where you just stand for 30, 60 seconds in a power pose, and research says that automatically enhances confidence in that moment, right? But we're talking, that's why it's so important to really understand that this program is coming from a place of confidence being a journey, not a destination, because I can power pose and feel a little better that day, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to feel some level of challenge with my confidence the next day. And so that's the reality. So kind of like normalize that a little bit for kids. You don't have to beat yourself up because you don't feel like a 10 every day. Nobody does. Nobody does.
So in a way, it's almost like giving them with your book, it's also, and just in general, giving them tools to overcome those days where those negative thoughts creep in, where they don't feel like their best, because like you said, it's a journey, not a destination.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like maybe sharing, parents practice being vulnerable and sharing the time when you were their age. How did you feel in terms of your confidence? When were you challenged? I think the book really does a good job in coming up with these questions that you can use to have a good dialogue with your kids, and even your girlfriends or whoever. I mean, they're just good questions to ask and kind of brainstorm around.
Absolutely. And then the next thing I want to talk to you about is, so you talk about the power pose. That's what it's called. And I wanted to ask, do you have any other activities that you think parents can just like implement with their kids to like help them with like boosting their confidence? Because some people, I think I had a friend who was like, oh, my daughter, she feels like my daughter is almost like maybe a follower.
Yeah.
know, she doesn't believe in herself. She's chasing rather than attracting. And I want her to know that she's enough. She doesn't have to chase. She doesn't have to compromise who she is because she's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I wanted to say, like, do you have any activities, any tools, and all of that?
Yeah, well, one thing I would say, because you asked earlier, is it different for boys and girls? And really it's not. Like, this class, you know, obviously I'm just passionate about women and girls, but there are many activities that can be adapted, and I've had someone who works with boys who did that. But, you know, and I don't know specifically your scenario, but in terms of being a follower, right? Again, we present confidence in a very black and white thing. Like either you're confident or you're not. You're either the leader or you're the follower, right? I would really unpack a little bit why her child feels she's a follower. If she's a good follower, hey, maybe she's like Jonathan in the Bible. Maybe she's meant to follow, right? And there's a way to be a good follower too. But what are those characteristics that you need to identify in folks that will make them a good leader? That's what we need to figure out. Because followers everybody can't be a leader. Followers are very, very necessary as well, right? But what are you following? Follow someone with the character that would lead you to a place that is, you know, ultimately positive and not negative. So instead of coming to her in a black and white way, like, you need to stop following, but maybe it's like, tell me a little bit more about what you see in this person that makes you want to follow them. You know, tell me a little bit more about, on a scale from 1 to 10, you know, how confident you think that they are. Oh, you say 8? Tell me what makes you at 8. What made you rate that person at 8? How do you think they feel about themselves? What would make them a 10? In contrast to how they feel about themselves, where you know, on a scale from 1 to 10, where do you think you are? You know, so you start asking questions to unpack that. But also, I just want to say that that's an example of how we represent confidence to kids. You're either this or you're that. And we know as leaders, because you and I both are leaders in our work, is that sometimes we have some really good followers. And those people are rewarded as well, right?
Well, we were followers before we became leaders.
Absolutely. Because you need to learn, how to follow sometimes too. And sometimes you're doing both. Right? So you know, life is not always, you know, just so black and white. And so like unpacking it a little bit more for kids, I think is where we need to be at. But like you said, it's like we get so emotional as adults. It's like I didn't raise you to be like that. You know what I mean? And that's about us, you know, versus really seeking to understand what's going on internally with the kid and who that kid is, and really getting curious about your kid and their essence.
Figuring out where you need to work with them.
Where you need to work with them, and where you need to identify, you know, well, this is what a good follower would look like. You know, maybe, you know, versus, you know, if they're following in a very negative way.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're following somebody and they're doing something wrong, you do not follow them. You step away.
And then what does wrong look like having that conversation? What are some actions that you might see from that person that would demonstrate wrong? You know? And then what are some actions from a person that you might want to follow that are aligned with who you are?
That's deep. So in a way, just like basically with children, when I think about confidence, I'm talking to you, I'm thinking almost like helping them understand themselves.
Yes, that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Helping them understand themselves from a young age so that they kind of have an idea of who they are. And then that way when they get in the world or whatever, you know, we're forever evolving, we're forever growing, but understanding who you are and according to you, who God says you are. And functioning in that.
The awareness, so much of Confidence Continuum is about awareness of a person. You know, that internal, introspective awareness is really helpful.
It think that's also for adults too. So
Yeah.
if you're watching this,
Absolutely.
work on yourself too. I'm working on myself too, bro. I'm working on myself.
I have some adult women who definitely say that they've done the activities that they love them. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because even as adults, a lot of adults, they still don't know who we are.
Absolutely.
And they're still trying to fit into the world, trying to function what they think the environment wants them to be versus who they really are. They hide that person.
Absolutely. And you know, the book looks like that because, for those of you, I don't know if you can see, but it's pink.
Zoom in, please.
There's stairs, and then there's a young girl, and then there's an older girl. And so that actually is adapted. The first demo that I got, the girl at the bottom was black and the girl at the top was white, which there's no problem with that. But I said, hey, there's also not a problem with having two black girls on the cover, right? And so I asked them to change that, and I asked them to change her outfit at the bottom because she had on a skirt and everything too, and I didn't want to present as though every woman has to present themselves the same way. And so I intentionally changed her outfit at the bottom because she had on the same outfit as the girl at the top. So I changed her outfit and I actually brought the girl at the top down the stairs because she was at the top of the stairs first. And I wanted to say, hey, she hasn't arrived. We're still on that continuum, right? And so I had them bring her down the stairs. I had them change the girl's outfit and change her hair. If you could see, her hair is coiled at the bottom. So I was very intentional about the details. And then I told my girlfriend, I said, that's a little girl at the bottom and that's me at the top. She said, no, Jovan, both of them are you.
Now it makes sense. The confidence continuum, it's forever continuing.
Yeah.
I hope everyone is learning a thing or two from this conversation. So, Jovan, I just want to say thank you so much for shedding light on those. And the more we talk about it, and I also realized that I'm also learning a lot from this as well. And I wanted to ask you, from your experience in having the Confidence Continuum classes, what do you believe is the cause for the lack of confidence in young kids?
Yeah, so I know I talked about like the environmental factors before. Like perhaps you have grown up in a house where you haven't necessarily seen, the best examples for confidence. So then obviously then you're going to have like a skewed perception about what confidence is. Or maybe you just were in a house where, you just weren't encouraged in that way. So that's one way. And then, one of the things I realized when I was doing work across, in another country is just that the prevalence of social media in the United States really impacts confidence. So if you really take a look at, on TikTok or, any social media platform, and if you look at some of the descriptions or some of like the images that represent women or girls nowadays, they might not necessarily be, the most appropriate pictures is what I would say, right? Or some of the celebrities that, are really popular and we are living in, we're living in a time where popularity can be equated to confidence, just because I have that popularity. But what celebrities and other folks are showing us is that that's not right. It's because there's a higher suicide rate as well that's correlated to social media for girls in this country. And so social media plays a huge role in this country when it comes to forming some of our ideas about confidence. And so when I was growing up, we didn't have, we didn't have social media and stuff, but we had magazines and stuff. And so when I saw confidence, it was like usually women who were in powerful positions. And I also came from a family that, women were very confident. And I talked a little bit with you about like how colorism was a big thing. And when I was growing up, guys would say like, you're cute to be dark skinned. And I came from an environment where my mom, she just didn't support that kind of talk. She wasn't a colorist. She didn't believe that, you know, based on your complexion, you were more beautiful or not. And so she really instilled beauty in us and confidence in us, regardless of our complexion, regardless of our hair texture, regardless of our body type. I think my mom did a really good job of doing that. But girls are experiencing lots of body shame, lots of issues that, you know, might be correlated to how they look and, you know, big eyes and things like that. I talked about that during the training where I showed you actually some pictures of how girls thought that they were being viewed. And the words and images are very striking. I mean, you would think that all these kids have confidence, but with some of the stuff that they hear in school is like amazing. And they start very young, start hearing these messages. Even if they have the best home life environment, they start getting these messages from TV, from school, from social media. And now social media is just another avenue, right? There was already a lot of exposure anyways, but now social media is just another thing where like somebody that lives across the country can bully you. or say you're ugly, or, you know, or put mean things under your comments, you know. So like the protection, you know, is just not there as much anymore. And so there's, you know, it creates an opportunity for lots of people to weigh in, and that can impact your confidence. We can't expect kids to, you know, be like to have these things said to them online and then them not have any reaction or feel anything about that.
And Jovan, as you say this, I have like 5,000 things running through my head. Honestly, like 5,000 things running through my head. And I know this is for young girls, but I'm also thinking, like, the more I think about this is not just for young girls.
No.
It's also for adults, you know?
Absolutely.
I'm blessed enough to finally, you know, love myself for who I am. I did not used to always be there.
Yes.
But now I do. But when I think about, I remember, I'm going to give you a few scenarios of just, I don't have kids yet, but basically what I see around my peers, you know, girls. I'm going to give you a few scenarios. So I remember about a couple of years ago, I would see someone like Megan Thee Stallion on TV where she has like rapping and everything. I'm like, ooh, she's so confident. She'd be like, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen her rap. She's so confident.
Yeah.
Like she'd be like, she's so confident.
Yeah.
You know, and at a point in my life, I said, oh wow, she is so confident. But I was thinking about the external.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And everybody else, every young girl watching Megan Thee Stallion will be like, oh, probably, oh, she's so confident. I want to be that confident.
Let's do
you
that.
Know, let's do that.
Yeah.
Right? And then external. Then they focus on the external.
Yeah.
They didn't know the amount of internal battles she was facing. I don't know if you follow her. She, you know, went through some a lot of issues. Like, it seemed like she needed to really. She seemed like she's in a journey of people knowing who she is and just learning.
Absolutely.
Or I think of someone like Lori Harvey, very beautiful girl. You know, there's a video of her that went popular where she was like, "You are the prize." I don't know if you ever seen that.
No, I don't know.
It was like, "You are the prize," basically saying like, as a woman, you're the prize.
Yeah.
You know? Lori's a very beautiful girl, dresses up extremely nice and everything. And so if people are here, and she dates like literally all the celebrities that every female wants. She dated Michael B. Jordan, she dated Damson Idris, my boo, by the way. I'm still in the market, Damson. Super shot. But that's not my crush. But she dated him. When I found like, oh, but it's okay, nobody cares. But so people seeing her date all this men and being so beautiful. Yeah. According to them, they're like, I want to be like her. Yeah. They want to be like her. They don't know who she is on the inside, but they just focus on that external factors. Yeah. Or people not loving their body anymore. And I just wanted to let everybody know, even for young kids, young girls out there, a lot of the people who are truly doing well and are okay mentally, physically, truly at peace, they're probably not on social media. They're probably not on social, like, life is bigger. The real life is bigger than social media. A lot of these people that you see, they're probably not happy. That confidence that you could see, sometimes it might be a facade and stuff like that. So like, just be like you said, environment influences what you believe. So if you find yourself, oh my God, I want to look like L'Oreal. And you see people doing surgeries. Wearing, I want to do this, putting fake bras, and even little kids, you see them doing stuff like that because they're thinking that is what confidence is. But I mean, I'm not saying don't take care of yourself. I like to look good. But I wanted to hear your opinion on that. Those are just the things like confidence is huge.
Yeah, so I mean, you bring up a lot of really good like points. We would look at people online and we would say, they must be really confident. But the truth is that nobody really knows, other than if they have therapy, maybe their therapist, about how they believe. But I've been around long enough to know that I meet a lot of beautiful women that you'd be so surprised how they feel about themselves inside. It's really sad, and I think what's even sadder is that how people will look at another person and compare their lives and say, I want that. And you don't even know what's inside of that, right? You just want the look, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna feel that way inside. And I think the thing about you gotta be careful about getting these images from social media to validate you, because if you need them to validate you, the minute they invalidate you, it will be very powerful in your life. And let me give you an example. So Lori Harvey at one point was like the it girl, and social media was putting her out there. It's like, she's so beautiful, she can be with all of these men, right? The moment, and I hate to get off into like all the rap stuff or whatever, but I just want to give you an example, and I think she's a great example. She's a beautiful woman as well. I don't know how she feels about herself, but what I can tell you is that when she was done dating Future put out a song, and he said one line. He said, so she goes from being like the most wanted woman, where she's in the song. In his song, Future said, tell Steve Harvey I don't want her. So what he was saying in that moment, tell your daddy that I don't, tell her dad that I don't want her. In that 1 minute, that post was everywhere, and then men were reposting it to say like, well, maybe I had you, I'm done with you, and that's what that meant. So you went from 1 year being the it girl to now it's like there's this implication, or this just like this underlining message that maybe you've been you've been with me, now you're not.
Around.
You know what I mean? So if you get your validation from those folks, then those same folks have to keep it for you, right? You know what I'm saying? And so when those folks are done with you, then you also take on this next thing, which is like now she's the next man's, she's like locker room talk, like she's the next man's trash. She's the same person, she's the same beautiful person, but the moment that they decided that she was no longer, who people thought she was, or that she wasn't good enough, but placing her value on who she's with wasn't right in the first place, right? And so, but that's how quick it happens. That's why your true validation can only come from God, because I'm sure with everybody that would still say that she's so beautiful, I'm sure that line hurts her. I'm sure that line would hurt her. And bringing her father in, it's very disrespectful. But it's just an example of the way the enemy can operate.
It's like this, you're focusing so much on your external, you're not looking at the internal, and then because you're so focused on the external, it's going to affect you internally in a very negative way. It's going to affect your self-worth. Right? Absolutely. Like, it seems like the more we talk, I'm like, confidence is so big. It's going to affect your self-worth. It's going to affect your self-love, because if you don't respect yourself, if you don't respect your body, why should they respect you? If you don't let them, work to earn you, why should they, And
they don't have to respect you, right? And that's the thing, is the minute they decide that they don't want to, they do. And then they publicize that and put that message out. And where you used to be the it girl, now you're, you know, the it girl that everybody, you know what I mean? And it really does, in either way, in God's eyes, she's completely redeemable. She didn't change. She was always fearfully and wonderfully made. Yesterday, when she was with Future, after she was with, you know, but now the narrative has changed in the media. And now women even might not even see her the same. You know what I mean? It's just so interesting. That's why it's about truly believing that you're who God says you are.
And I like how you said she, regardless of whatever, with God, she's still who He says she is. And now it's just like she just has to. That's the confidence journey.
Yeah.
Finding who God says you are, believing in that, and walking in that.
People can throw you away, but God won't. God won't. You know, and people are shifty, as we see from that scenario. But that's really how a lot of things work too. The moment that, you know, the public, because they're flicky, they're fickle is the word I'm looking for, right? And that happens in high school. That happens in like peer groups. That happens with grown women. Where the moment they decide that you're not, you better know who you are out here, man. You better know who God says you are. You better be very clear about that. Because if you place it in their hands when they get ready to destroy it or turn it into something else, then you'll believe that if you're not clear. Yeah.
Because you're so right. The world will mess with you, and you have to know who you are. Yeah. And that was something I had to learn last year. And I had to tell myself, you are enough. Yeah. Because the world will make you feel like sometimes you know, like by you being humble, trying to show good character, they make you feel like you're weak and you're nothing, and easily dismiss you. And when they dismiss you, you find other people trying to fit in so that they will be accepted. Yeah. But if you know who you are, you can easily say, bro, who are you to tell me who I am? I don't need. And it's not like to be disrespectful or anything, but it's more of just like, don't put people in the place of God.
Right. That's really deep too. Yeah. That's what we're talking about.
You know, wow. Now I understand why it didn't capture it in the first place. So just so you guys know, we're right. This is our second go around.
Maybe there was
that was like that wasn't. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you, God. This is giving.
It's giving what it's supposed to give.
It's supposed to give what it's supposed to give. What it's supposed to give. Yeah. And I just want to say thank you so much for shedding your light. And I just love this back and forth discussion. Like it's something I've always said, and I just love how, you know, I feel like from talking to you, we can see a lot of the problems in women, not just young girls' confidence, but I like where you're taking it from. Start from when they're young.
Oh yeah.
You know, start from when they're young. Build them so that when they grow older, they know the way to go. Even if they depart from that way, they will remember.
Yeah,
my mom taught me that. Oh, my dad taught me that. Oh, Mrs. Jovan Goodman had a book. Yeah. Oh, I need to find this book again. I need to find myself again.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you will be astonished. I allow girls as young as 3 to come to my class, right? And when it's time to do the confidence walk at the end, you really see who has the confidence already. And it's the youngest ones that start doing the confidence walk. And then the older the girl is, the more that she won't do the confidence walk, especially in the first class. So there's something about 12 years old, you have all those girls standing back and they're afraid to do the confidence walk. That part is so interesting for me because I'm like, what happens at 12? Something happens right around 11 or something where girls just don't feel like they can be their authentic selves initially, right? And so you gotta build a lot of like safety for them. Eventually they do. So those same girls that don't the first couple classes, the class is so powerful that by the end they do. But you see it right away in the classes, and there's that qualitative data of seeing that something's happening right at 11 or 12.
Mm.
And I think for the US, a lot of it is social media, access to social media.
The confident, wow, that is true. Once you start to get older, you start to pay attention to everything, and you stop being a child. And even the Bible says God loves the children. He wants you to be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God, this is good. Anyways, thank you. I want to ask you a question. So how can parents and teachers kind of just like help fix this lack of confidence in young kids based on what we've discussed?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one is purchasing a book.
Zoom in.
We talked about really getting to know kids for like who they are, their essence, versus like the behavior that they might be demonstrating. Really asking them those questions and getting curious about those questions. Try just having a conversation. Have you ever tried just having a conversation with a child and only asking questions? You will learn so much. You never make a statement. You just only ask questions. You will learn so much. And I think, especially one of the things we talked about that might have got cut out is that those things that you think are negative attributes of kids, try to explore them a little differently. I was saying that I grew up and it was, she talks too much in class. And I probably did talk too much in class, but I think that there were ways that probably could have been fostered a little differently to really create maybe a more intentional avenue for me, because I get paid to talk all the time now, right? So maybe that was my strength, and something about my God-given ability shining through earlier, but it wasn't necessarily perfected yet, right? And so what if I had just learned to just shut up because I was getting in trouble about that? You know what I mean? Good thing I didn't, right? But there are some leadership skills that our kids have sometimes, and they just haven't been formed and cultivated yet, right? And so really looking at that, I met a 16-year-old girl in Mississippi, and we was talking about what she did well. And most of the times you'll hear things like, well, I'm good at math, I'm good at spelling. She said, I make people happy. And I just thought that was like so great that she knew that about herself, right? And I was just like, think about how many careers where you make people happy. I'm thinking about hospitality. I'm thinking about certain businesses that you own. I'm thinking about like, you know what, maybe she's not good at a certain sport or math, but now how do I hone in on her telling me that she makes people happy and accelerating that and fostering that? Because first of all, kudos to you for even being aware of that, that you make people happy, right? And I'm not talking about like, oh, I make people happy because I'm trying to. Some people might spin that and say, well, you care too much about others liking you or what they think, right? But no, she was able to really dig deep and come up with that strength and share that in class. And I was just like, keep doing that,
That.
Keep do more of that.
I like that. So parents should try to know their kids more and try to see how that. And there's one more thing I wanted to ask you. I keep thinking about this as you say it. You keep saying like own, what they're good at, stuff like that. And the reason why I want to ask this is because would you say in one way purpose as an indirect relationship with confidence or direct relationship? Because I feel like as you tap on that, I keep thinking purpose, purpose. So I wanted to say what relationship do those two things have? And I know this is out of topic, but as you say it.
No, I mean, I think especially from a spiritual perspective, God's ultimate goal is for us to, be in purpose. I'm not one of those people that thinks that your purpose is just one thing. I think that like right now, my purpose is to do this thing to the best of my ability, and then in 5 years my purpose could be something else, right? But the whole point is to be in purpose, right? And so I think that in order to be in purpose and to really be able to receive that, whatever God has for you, you have to kind of like believe that you are who God says you are, right? Or if you're not spiritual or religious, is the at least believe that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And I do think that it's possible to have that level of confidence, and perhaps you haven't been introduced to, any religion or any level of spirituality. It's possible to have that level of confidence in some way. Obviously, I would say that, for the fullness of that and the revelation of that, is it related to purpose? I think you have to, I think that comes through Christ. That's my personal view on that, right? It's to being in purpose, is being in the will of God in every moment of your life. And so when I was in Milwaukee, my purpose was to serve families really well in that moment. And because I did that, I was able to move to an international level where I know what it's like to serve families. So now I can speak to leaders about serving those families, because I was in purpose when I was speaking to those leaders across the country. It made me say, well, you know what? I need to take my book to Uganda. I wouldn't have done that if I didn't believe I was who God said I was, because He said, to get in purpose, you got to take it international. If I wasn't in tune with who I was, and that I could do that, every step, according to the book, had got me to that next level of what God was trying to do in purpose.
Absolutely. And can I answer that?
Yeah.
By being in purpose,
yeah,
you know who you are,
yeah,
and who God says you are,
yeah,
which goes to your initial definition
yeah,
of what confidence is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I don't think you ever just get there where you're just like, oh yeah. I don't think you ever stop learning. It's like a whale that keeps going. I think at 40 you're gonna be like, wow, God, you still showing me that?
Yeah, you're forever learning.
You're forever learning who you think you are and who God says you are, and trying to seek out that more and more, and so it's a journey. So yeah, definitely going back to your question is that confidence is correlated to your purpose. Absolutely.
Let's take a deep breath. Well, I just hope if you're watching this, please put a thumbs up for Jovan. I'm learning a lot, and I really hope you guys are too. And I'm actually happy that we had a technical difficulty initially, because we were almost done with this, and we were reshooting it. That I'm happy, because some of the things we're saying now, it's almost like this was meant to re-happen, and we are really hoping that this will help somebody in one way or the other. That's why we're sitting here and doing this.
Yeah.
So Jovan, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. This is awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So the next thing I wanted to ask you is, let's imagine, a young male or a young female, I say young boy, young girl. Young boy, young girl comes across this episode. What can you tell them to help them build their confidence? If you could just look at them in the camera and think about, what would you tell them to help them build their confidence?
Well, if you are a young girl or boy and you're watching this, what I would say is that at some point I was your age, and I remember like yesterday what it was to be your age. And I want to first just start by congratulating you for navigating some challenges that I certainly did not have to deal with in terms of social media and things that you might see in social media on a daily basis that doesn't necessarily represent confidence in the best way. But I will tell you that regardless if you understand confidence, or if you have that awareness of confidence and you have that esteem building happening in your household, there are other places that you can find an opportunity to build that confidence, whether that be at your school, whether that be at your church, whether that be through other peers. There are other opportunities, so I don't want you to feel as if you don't necessarily have an opportunity to build your confidence if it isn't directly in your home. Make sure you stay connected and find out at least one thing that you might be good at. and then connect with some adult or some person that can show you a lane or help you continue to build on what you are good at. And if you do have a person in your life that you care about, ask them to purchase my book. And this is an opportunity for you to have some structured discussion, create some activities with your friends and your peers and maybe even your family or your parents or your loved ones to dive a little deeper into understanding your own level of confidence. And no one is perfect. Confidence is a journey, not a particular destination. So thank you so much for listening to this conversation, and I wish you luck.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna put you on the spot one more time. I hope you don't mind.
I don't.
Absolutely. So now I want to put you on the spot for the parents, because a lot of this falls in your hands. They are stewards of the kids, you know. So I wanted to ask you, if you could say one thing to the parents on the journey of them helping their children build confidence. Do you mind looking at the camera and tell the parents what you would like to tell them?
It would kind of be something similar to what I just told your children. Is I want you to think long and hard about how you felt when you were your child's age, how you felt about confidence, and where you got that messaging from. Maybe you got that messaging from home. Maybe you got it from other avenues. I want you to think long and hard about that, because I think that will create some empathy for, you know, what your child is experiencing. And so if you do have an opportunity to purchase the book, it will provide an opportunity for you to dive a little deeper, to think about and unpack some of the messages that you received as a child that really have stuck. Some of them that might be appropriate, some of them that might not be so appropriate now, and really get to thinking about that from your perspective. And then I would invite you to actually create some of the activities and do some of the activities along with the child. And really give yourself an opportunity to be vulnerable with your children and share from an honest standpoint, you know, where you were at that age. I know I talk to kids all over the country, and when I share some things about myself and silly things that I did when I was younger, they just love it so much. And they find so much value in me being vulnerable enough as an adult to share how I was when I was their age and mistakes that I might have made. So give yourself some credit. You don't need to seek for perfection, but this is an opportunity to have a further discussion with your child about you putting yourselves in their shoes, and then unpacking some of these conversations related to confidence.
Absolutely.
And I wish you luck as well on your journey for continuing to support your child in building their confidence.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jovan. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that light. And you're welcome. So, I wanted to drag this home, and this is probably like, you know, my last question for you.
Okay.
I think we've said a lot, you know. And I wanted you to state the importance of cultivating the behavior of confidence in kids at a young age, like the importance as well, the benefits and the consequences. What are the benefits of doing this now and the consequences of not doing it?
Yes, so I think the earlier the better, which is why, I certainly work with adults, I certainly work with adult women and teenagers, but what I've noticed at this age is that this is a really young, curious, vulnerable age, and they're so impressionable and coachable because some of the messages haven't gotten into their head yet. So start as early as 3 and 4 and begin to have these conversations, because once they get to a point of school age, once they get to a point where they can actually operate social media, they will begin to get the messages. So either you can begin to plant those seeds and have those discussions now, or you can have them later. Either way, you will have them. But I would argue that the earlier, the better, if we are really thinking about prevention for kids and being preventative, starting to have these conversations, starting to listen to your kids earlier on and ask questions. I think it's really important, and obviously doing a lot of those things and activities from their book. I challenge you to do that, because what I heard is that because the activities are so structured, is that adults have found that they've learned different things about their kids, and then the kids have learned different things about the parents. So there's an opportunity for building community here, which is so powerful. And so the kids don't have to be on that journey alone. They can be on it with a peer or yourself. And if you're a mom and you have daughters, I encourage you to really step into this and do these activities and have these discussions with your daughters sooner than later. And so I think I've talked about some of the so we gave some real examples for like consequences. But I think that, to just put it really bluntly, is that if you don't begin to plant these seeds now, trust me, there will be other seeds that are planted. And I did it. It's reminded me of a class that I did where I was talking about like weeds. I was talking about pulling up weeds, and when you pull up a weed, oh my gosh, those things just keep on growing back like weeds. And if they have things that are kind of like, if you have things that kind of pollute your garden, and you have all of these messages that are from all these different crazy places outside of a godly lens, or a lens that is just minimally healthy, then you end up having all these weeds you got to pull up as a teenager or as an adult when you become aware of where you got these messages from. Then you have all these weeds to pull up, and it takes some time to unpack. So I think that's a consequence of not having some of these conversations and processing some of this a little earlier.
Jovan, when you, and I know I said it was the last question, but I'm so sorry. When you talk about confidence, this took me to talking about if you don't plant it, the world is going to plant it there.
Yeah.
And this took me back to my personal story, and I think I know the last question I'm going to ask you, which is, what is your source of confidence? But before you answer that, I'm going to tell you my story. I remember being very young. I wasn't really taught like be confident. I don't really have that upbringing of confidence. So I can easily tell you I lacked confidence, and I'm still working on it. And this is one of the things that happened. I remember getting a job, not doing well at the job initially, so I got kind of used to people saying like, you're not good enough, or she's gonna mess that up, or she's gonna ruin that, she's going to. So everywhere I went, before I did something, I believed that I was going to mess it up. Even when I was doing good, I believed that I was going to mess it up. And then and I think that's why I said my confidence journey probably started maybe, let me see, about 3-4 years ago. And then when I started to know God started to put me in situations where I realized like the lack of confidence started to cause anxiety.
Yeah.
That even before even when I was doing good, I thought I was doing bad. And I would put myself under so many pressure. You're not good enough. You have this amazing job. You're gonna mess it up. You're gonna do this. You're not adding anything. You're not valuable. You're not this person. I used to tell myself that.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I don't know what I got into a job, and I almost became like, I don't know if it was depression or something, or anxiety. I don't like to use that word over myself, but it was so bad that I would like be crying, like, oh my God, and stuff like it was that bad, because I did And they would be telling me, you're doing great. And I'm like, no. I kept hearing those weeds that have been planted in me that made me believe I was never enough. I kept hearing those weeds.
Yeah.
You know, and then I had, to the extent that I believe those weeds so much, like it even affected my prayer life. Like I used to pray a lot, and to the extent that when I found myself in that new situation, you know, it was a difficult time, but I didn't know what God was doing. Like He was telling me, like, you needed to face you have things that you needed to heal from. And I didn't know that I needed to heal in the new position that He put me. Because those positions brought back so many childhood memories of like, you're not good enough. So I couldn't even pray. I would just, I said that's when I started writing. Because I couldn't pray. Then I would write my prayers. Like it was like so depressing, and you know, thankfully that's the same job that I still am to today. And for someone, so I say this to let you all know, and that's why I was going to ask you, what's your source of confidence? My source of confidence comes from, you know, God. In letting me know that I am enough, and the projection of others don't define who I am. Maybe I was that person in a specific season, but He has arrived and I'm a different person in this new season.
Sure. Yeah.
But it took me a while to realize that, and it even almost like affected my relationship. I didn't know it was helping me. I was like, I couldn't pray. And even in that journey of trying to get that confidence, I discovered a new love, writing. You know? So I say this to just let every young girl, whoever is reading this, that is watching this, that's having some type of confidence issues. You might have been like me where you didn't have anybody to tell you that you were good enough, or you were this, or even when people tell you, you don't believe it because you're so used to all the things everybody else has planted in you. I'm a believer. If you're not a believer, that's okay. But I'm a believer, like Jovan said, confidence is really who God says you are. And for me, my walk of confidence, it is true. I can testify to that, because without Him, I wouldn't be this woman today who believed that she was so weak, who is now leading a team and building confidence in people. You get where I'm coming from? But if you had told me I would be that person 4 years, 3 years ago, I would tell you, no way. No way, I can't even, no way. It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. So when you discover God, you really discover who you are. So in a way, it's also like, I guess, purpose, because He created us. So my confidence source is God. So let me ask you, you know, you've written this book and everything. What is your source of confidence?
Yeah, it's definitely God is always the source in everything, right? And I would say a couple other things I was thinking as you were talking is just mental wellness, right? We don't always think about mental wellness the way we think about physical health wellness, again, because of that concept of like, hey, how I really want to present confidence in an external way, not in an internal way. So we don't go to the mental gym as much as we go to the physical gym. And I'm not necessarily talking about therapy. If that is the avenue in which you go to the mental gym, that's fine. But there are other things that you can do. You talked about them today. You talked about affirmations. You talked about writing. You talked about reading. You know, some things that you've done, right? And I think that we have to really be intentional about mental wellness.
Yes.
Right? And again, we presented this very black and white. You're either mentally ill or not, right? But there's mental illness, mental health, how we, describe our mental health, but then there's mental wellness that is also on a continuum, right? Where am I mentally? And like, what is my level of awareness for that? Sounds like you were very aware in your scenario. You're like, I felt this way.
Yeah.
You got it. And maybe now that you're out of it, you really can articulate it a lot more too.
It was so.
Right? And so I think like God is always the source, and like the work that we do, it really is work to do, confidence building and esteem building is work, right? Like, we have to read those scriptures. We have to go to the physical gym, and we have to go to the mental gym, right? And so these are some activities that get you to the mental gym, right? But I remember a season in my life in which I did not have a lot of confidence. Well, it was something that happened. That's another thing. Things will happen that will trigger your confidence, right? And so didn't have any issue before, but then this certain thing happened, and then all of these thoughts started coming into my mind that started impacting my confidence. I heard someone say once, you have to really think about what you're going to think about. Like, mental wellness has to be like an active thought, like an intentional thought every day, the same way that, physical wellness is, right? And so during that period of my life, I heard these negative thoughts, and it all came after this experience. Didn't have these thoughts before. These negative thoughts only came after this experience. So something in this experience had like planted these roots or whatever, right? And so when I thought about those negative thoughts, I took like 7 Bible verses that were in direct opposition of these negative thoughts. And I wrote them all down, and I said them. And so every time I would have that thought in my head, I would pull out that list, and I would say that. And saying it is one thing, but then like believing the particular scriptures. And it got to a point where if I had to say it up to 40 times a day, I would. Because that was the level of working out I needed to do in that moment, in that mental gym. And you need different things at different times. Like, at one moment, I'm really going hard on legs, and then I'm like, you know what, let's evolve, and like, let's do legs, and let's also do, like now I'm trying Pilates too. But you gotta know that awareness has to be there enough to know what you need in that moment. First, to just notice, like, I'm now in this moment where I feel I have this thought, and I know, being able to identify who the author of that thought is, right? Because that the thought clearly doesn't align with who I believe God says I am, right? So we don't have to get into that, but you and I know where that thought comes from, the origination of that thought. Okay. Well, now I'm in the gym, and I'm going to fight against that thought, right? And so eventually, in that moment, I would say these scriptures, and in about 2 weeks, the thoughts dissipated. It took about 2 weeks though.
And over on time. I like how you talk about mental wellness and just these little things that can help you. Like you pulling out scriptures, me writing, like I will literally write things into my life. Like I believe you can write positive emotions. Like I will write things into and all just these things like we never know what's going to trigger our but not giving it the power. Because we could easily give it and you would more than likely give it the power if you don't have the source. A solid foundation. I think from you and I, our foundation is God. Right. But for those that don't have a source,
you will need to find a source that's working for you, right?
You have to fight those negative thoughts.
Because not every thought is a thought from you. I know that sounds really crazy, and then I want to get into some mental health stuff, but like every thought that you have is not always a thought that comes genuinely, authentically from you.
When you were saying that you were in an experience, you went somewhere, you got an experience, and that brought the thoughts. When you were saying that, something came to my head. Like, do you know? So this might be a little bit creepy and weird, guys, but we know what we're saying. I hope you. Well, like sometimes we can absorb other people's energies.
Absolutely.
Whereby you're not really the one not feeling confident. Somebody else is feeling confident, but you don't know when you open up. Some people might say chakra or something. You don't know when you open up yourself to absorb their feelings, and then before you start thinking that's you, but it's not you. You just in some way or the other, you open yourself up to somebody else, and now you are filling out their feeling, and you're thinking it's you.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how to get out of that negative and tell yourself, this is not me.
Yes, and sometimes you don't even know, you're just trying to be there for somebody, and then they're having the issue. But because you've been exposed to that, you brought your mind into it. You might say, well, how would I act if it were me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then all of a sudden now I'm in that situation too. Kind of what we were talking about earlier, and I said, well, it's really important that don't let that person speak that into your life. Because and this is like adult talk, but like most feedback is projection, right? Most feedback that people give you is really just them projecting whatever was their experience with something. And so you have to be super careful about that. You have to be super careful about that, and just making sure that the thoughts that you have, the advice that you give, aligns with whatever that source is for you, right? Absolutely. And if it doesn't align with the source, then it might be sent to create some weeds in your garden that you might have to pull up later on.
Absolutely. Well, Jovan, I just wanted to say, this was beautiful. Do you agree?
Yes, this was amazing.
It was beautiful. Like, even to think that I had to, it reminded me of a story that I had to bring up. I'm like, wow. I just sometimes I don't think I have stories, but then when you're in situations like this, you realize that
you do.
You have a lot of stories to tell. And Jovan, I just want you to please tell us a little bit more about this book, how it came about, and what you're hoping to achieve. Yeah, you can please just shed the light on the Confidence Continuum.
Yes, actually it was several years ago where in my hometown, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I began designing these classes and actually facilitating the actual program in Milwaukee with girls in my community. And it really started as something that I wanted to do that was fun. I was a social worker and I was developing those programs. And it really evolved into a space where I continued to do it because I felt that I had to do it because the girls were coming back, they were enjoying it. I was noticing times in which I felt that their confidence was being enhanced throughout the class, and then their parents and others in their lives were certainly coming back to me and saying, hey, this person is in a theatrical performance and they're better and they have more enhanced confidence after coming to your class, or that they have they're part of extracurriculars and they are doing better and they're more confident as a result of your class in different academic subjects in their school. And so after about 3 years, I said, you know what, I really want this book and this program to become an opportunity to give it access for all girls. So my goal is to reach 1 billion girls worldwide.
Oh my God.
And so I actually slowed down in 2020 during the global pandemic to actually write it and publish it so that it could be available to more girls.
Amazing. I love that. So I'm gonna say something. I know that this is for girls, but would you please do something for men, boys too? I think they could use it. Like I always wish that, I feel like girls, we're very blessed. There's a lot of resources available for us. And we're also very passionate women. And because I come from a family of boys, I don't really see a lot of things. I don't know if you do, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they also need it a lot too, because they're expected to be leaders. They're expected to be this, so
I think it's a really good question. I had a young man who worked with boys a few years ago that actually came to my annual Train the Trainer, because I actually do train others that are working with youth across the country to implement this program into the work that they're doing. And so he worked with boys, and so he was actually he came to my training and he was going to actually adapt some of the activities to make them more appropriate for boys. So there's one in there specifically where I say, it's called I'm a Queen, right? And so he was adapting some of it. And so I'm not opposed to that. I think just for me, I'm really just naturally passionate about women and girls, so that's been my target audience. But I also think that, there are definitely adaptable activities for boys and men. And I think that, perhaps, maybe men should lead in that area as well.
Okay, men.
Yeah. I don't know.
They can collaborate with you.
Yeah. There can be a partnership or collaboration because I just don't know how appropriate it would be for me to do a whole class for.
That makes sense.
I would like to partner with a guy.
I like that. So if you're a man and this is something that you're very, very passionate about, reach out to Jovan Goodman because I think, women, we need this and I think that men also need it too, especially if they're expected to be leaders of our homes, right?
Absolutely.
So I just want to say thank you. Also, I wanted to mention just one more thing. So there are 3 aspects to this. You teach the class. You also enable other people to teach the class as well. I think you just talked about it a little bit. Do you want to shed some light? I think,
Yes, absolutely. So because my goal is reaching 1 billion girls worldwide, obviously I cannot be everywhere at once. And so although I am still hired to come in and facilitate the class for others within organizations, but I've created this avenue for others who are staff members, or maybe you're just a member at a school, or some type of person that works with youth at churches, and they actually come to the annual trainer. I facilitate, and I know you just.
I was totally there.
And so annually, usually it's the second Saturday of every month, where I invite those who work with boys or girls to this space where they can actually learn everything they need to learn to actually implement the Confidence Continuum programming into the work that they're doing. And so I've done that for about 4 or 5 years, and I probably work with about 50 facilitators across the country.
Amazing. That's beautiful. So if this is something you're interested in, for your community, for your schools, or anything like that, or for some seminars, please reach out to Jovan Goodman. Jovan, how can they reach out to you? Do you have like an email?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a website, jovangoodman.com or theconfidencecontinuum.com. You can certainly reach out to me there and leave a message. I am one of those people that returns emails, and I get back to folks, and so that's a great way to just reach out. And obviously, if you just Google my name, you'll probably see my social media and all of that stuff.
Yeah, Google me, baby.
Yes.
So Jovan, I love everything that you do with the Confidence Continuum and building confidence in young girls. I know for sure I could have used it at some point in my life. So I just wanted to say thank you for taking on this initiative and #killing it. So what I wanted to talk about is you touched me today, and I learned a lot from you, and I think everybody else learned something from you as well. And I just wanted to say, if you're in there, just go ahead and just put an emoji or a GIF. Thank you so much, Jovan. Thank you so much. But I want to say thank you so much for sitting with me. I can't wait for the world to see this episode. I don't think it's only going to help young children. I think it's going to help adults as well. It's going to help all of us in one way. Even a man can pull a thing or two from this. And I just wanted to say, this was lovely, and just want to say thank you so much. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to give you a big hug.
Yes.
So they need to see us.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jovan, for us. Thank you. All right.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye.